Good morning. Welcome to our day 2 of Shark Week. I'm so glad you're here. So each day we're going live during Shark Week to learn about a different species of shark. Maybe even these cool hammerheads that I found in the Galapagos Islands scuba diving. So why would I be teaching you about sharks? I'm just a middle-aged lady who lives in Oregon, but I have a minor in marine biology and I've enjoyed scuba diving around the world. I've dove with hammerhead sharks, in fact, and all kinds of species. So we're going to draw some of those this week. So I'm so happy you're here. If you can't grab a pencil and paper, that's okay. Sometimes it helps to just watch first and then watch the replay. And all of these live events are on Facebook and YouTube. And if you go to YouTube on my playlist called Sketching Sharks, you can see all of them. Each day I'll upload them to that playlist. So hi, Jackie. Aloha from Aloha, Oregon. So yeah, we're going to work today on a special species of shark. So let me get started here. I don't want to talk too much. These are always best to watch on a desktop computer if you can, so you can follow along to the drawing demo. But hopefully if you're on a phone, you can watch there too. So this is a 7-day event, each day on a different species. And today we are drawing the fastest species in the world, the short fin Mako shark. And I always like to have people look at something for a few minutes before we start drawing it, because the more you are familiar with that shark, the better. And I'm always trying to make sure that we can see it. And just a second. This is a big, wide shark, so it's a little hard to see on the phone. So anyway, and this is my shark I painted on a stone. Isn't that cute? I did this for my kids in my class last week. They had so much fun sketching all kinds of different sharks. So the short fin Mako shark is the world's fastest shark. It can go almost 50 miles an hour, but that's still not fast enough to outrun fishermen. And it's actually classified as endangered because it's heavily fished around the world. These sharks live all over the world, generally in the open oceans. They're pelagic, and they can dive from 500 up to several thousand feet deep, searching for prey. And so the way we recognize this species and the way we're going to draw it is we want to look at it pretty closely. This is in the same family as great white sharks. So it's a big, heavy-bodied shark. These guys get up to be about 10 feet long. And as the name short fin suggests, they are having shorter fins than their relative, the long fin shark. And so they have actually really short second dorsal and pelvic and anal fins. So you'll notice that. You'll also notice they have a really pointy snout. And something else pretty unique about them is their tail. It's kind of crescent shaped, like a crescent moon. And so in a lot of sharks, the upper part is much longer, like in the thresher shark especially. But in this shark, you're going to want to draw each of the lobes about the same length. These guys get to be about 10 feet long and about 300 pounds. And they also have a very strong keel, and that's this ledge right here that helps them to be balanced. And that's another reason they can swim so fast. And you can see that a little bit here. And the wonderful thing about making a drawing as opposed to just looking at a photograph is you can accentuate those identifying features. These guys are named Mako. That word is a Polynesian word, specifically a Maori word from New Zealand, because they live off the coast of New Zealand. And we think that also means shark. So the Another thing about them is you'll notice there's really obvious line between the upper part that's a very beautiful blue, kind of like the blue shark we drew yesterday, and the bottom. And again, this illustration shows that better than these two photographs. But this one shows it pretty good. There's a really clear line right here. And it's pretty high up on the body, whereas a lot of sharks, they have their dark coloration lower. You'll also notice they have 5 gills, which most sharks have, and they're really long. Some sharks have shorter gills, but these are really long. And they have a pretty big eye, which is pretty obvious in these photographs, but not as obvious in this one. So, for those of you who are watching live, you get to pick which one we're going to draw. And remember, each day we're going to draw a little bit more difficult view of a shark. So tell me in the chat box, live viewers, if you want to draw the top, the middle, or the bottom. They each show a little bit different features. And I love to be interactive, so we can go ahead together. So we've got Diane from New Jersey and Jackie from Aloha, Oregon. And so tell me in the chat box if you can, do you want us to draw the top, middle, or bottom? Now, this middle one has some things coming off the edge of it. It's maybe hard to see here, but those are tags. So a lot of sharks get tagged by researchers, and that's how they can learn that they migrate long distances. These guys cross oceans over 1,000 miles to search out prey and to search out mates. And speaking of mating, these sharks are like a lot of sharks. It takes them many years to grow old enough to mature to mate. It's not until the female is about 18 years old that she can mate. And she only has babies every few years. They're called pups. And they have a long pregnancy. You think humans, 9-month pregnancy is a long time. These guys, their gestation period is up to 18 months, and they only have about 10 pups. And then they take a few years between having pups. So that low reproductive rate is one of the many reasons that sharks can't bounce back from overfishing. And these are fished around the world for sport as well as for meat. And one reason they're fished for sport is because they are so fast. So they're really challenging to catch, and they're acrobatic. They can jump out of the water like great whites up to 10 feet out of the water. So they're really entertaining to watch, and unfortunately to catch as well. Okay, so I think since I haven't seen anybody voting, we're just going to use this top species. And I want to make sure that people watching on the phone can draw this too. I don't know. It's kind of hard. This is a long fish. And so I don't know. Tell me if you're watching on the phone, if you can turn the phone to see the whole fish. Yeah, because if I turn it like this, you can kind of see the whole fish, I guess. Yeah, I guess we'll do that. So we're going to pretend this Mako shark is coming up to the surface to hunt something, okay? So yeah, there we go. I guess that's what we'll do. It's really hard to get the whole thing. I don't know if I can back out a little bit, but then it's a little bit too much. Well, I guess we can just do that. We're just going to do that because I'd rather have him kind of easy. To keep it easy for you guys, because we are making it more difficult each day. And I guess this one's a little bit more difficult than yesterday's. Yesterday we did the blue shark. And this one is more difficult because it has its mouth open and the teeth are showing. And also, a lot of times, this species can be identified as well by the fact that when it's swimming, even when its mouth is closed, you can see the teeth, and that's not true for all sharks. So I hope you guys are excited to start sketching. Okay, and so here we go. So I am going to put my glasses on, and I'm going to draw a line that represents Yeah, that represents the length here. Let me see. Let me put my little sharky there. Oops, I'm going to move my shark, put my other sharky right there. Okay, so I'm going to make a line that just represents kind of the length of the whole fish up to its tail. And then we're going to have kind of an area there for the tail. Now I'm going to lighten this up a little bit or darken it. Darken it. Let me see. This is always a challenge with these lights in the studio to be able to see well enough. But anyway, you'll see as I get darker. So I'm going to draw darker than I want you to, just because you really need to be able to see this with the bright studio lights. Okay, so I want you to start really lightly. Okay, so what we've got is the top line of this fish is kind of going up like this, and then kind of like this. So I like to draw that first oval, which is kind of torpedo shaped. But this one is a little harder than yesterday's because it's got his mouth up and open. And then there's the mouth area. So I start light and loose, and I am not doing any erasing, okay? I hope you'll see that. Not doing any erasing. And I just kind of get the shape by just continuing to refine it. This part here is really narrow where the tail is. And then the tail goes into this crescent shape. So I just try to get all the little parts blocked in. And then let's see, the top fin will go here. And then these other little fins are going to go here. And the front fins are going to go kind of like that. Okay, so then once I sort of get the areas, basic areas, then we're going to start making it a little thicker. So we're going to start with this face. So it's got this, it's got a long pointed snout, and that's really obvious here when it's opening its mouth. So I'm going to darken that. And then it's got the open mouth, and it kind of arches down and up, and doesn't have to be exact because he or she could be opening her mouth really wide or less wide. So there we go. And then the jaw, and then the area there. And then let's firm up and make it pretty skinny here. And firm up this and make it pretty skinny there. There we go. And then the tail, an arch, and an arch. And then it's a little ragged at the end. And it's good to kind of show things less than perfect. When I've been diving with sharks, I've seen a lot of little divots in their tail and injuries on their body. In fact, I saw a video where a Mako shark had washed up on shore, and it had the spear of a spearfish in its head, which probably killed it. That was crazy. So, they have a very active, dangerous life. And so they're going to reflect that in their body. Okay, and then I got to get the eye. And the eye is about here. Okay, there we go. All righty, I hope you guys are following along. So now we're going to firm up where the fins are. And again, this is called the short fin Mako shark, the fastest shark in the sea. So let's get this first dorsal fin. It's always about halfway back on the body. And each of their fins sort of does a different job in helping them swim, helping them to either be keep them from going tilting left or right And then that second, these little fins are really short. That's where they get the name short fin. So that's the second dorsal. And then we've got the anal right behind it. And these fins, I'm going to show them a little bit more than they do because that's just how um, the illustration was done. You can't really see it, but they do have this other pelvic fin. And then they've got the pectoral fins, a pair of those. And so the first one is going to be behind the gills. Now, this illustration doesn't show it very well because they're kind of squeezed because it's opening its mouth. But this picture, well, I guess it doesn't show on the video, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'm going to get rid of this first line here. And again, those are really wide. And of course, they need those gills to be able to breathe, especially those fast swimming sharks really need to take in a lot of oxygen quickly. Okay, and then so just behind that last gill, we're going to have that dorsal. The pectoral fin. And that one's coming towards us a little bit. So it's kind of foreshortened. You see this other one looks longer, even though it's farther away from us, because maybe the shark is turning or something and moving that fin. But they do have pretty short fins. And here's a picture here from another angle. All righty. So now we have all the main parts. I am going to do a little erasing. So I'm going to erase those tri-lines finally. Now that we have an outline. And I'll probably clean this up a little bit more. And now we're going to do the fun part of shading. And if you're following along, you probably have a basic graphite pencil. And that's what I demonstrated with yesterday. But one of my favorite techniques to use are charcoal pencils. But even no matter what kind of medium you have, doesn't really matter. You can still the same idea. Okie dokie. So here we go. We're continuing drawing our short fin Mako shark, the fastest shark in the sea. Now they have a really dark top, and that dark top has a really obvious edge to it. Oh yeah, we don't want to forget this keel. We'll have to add that in, the highlights of that in later. But they have this ledge called a keel that helps them, and it's really wide and strong. So now we've got our outline, and now I'm going to add my color. So I'm going to use this soft charcoal pencil, and I'm just going to get a little bit of charcoal everywhere on the top here. Their color is a beautiful indigo blue, very similar to the blue shark we sketched yesterday. And again, if you want to watch the whole series of these Shark Week celebration shark videos, they're going to be on a playlist on my YouTube channel called Sketching Sharks. So I just try to get a little bit everywhere. And I'm just going to add also onto my fins. Okay. And then this looks like a female because it does not have the claspers of the male. Okay. And so now I'm going to blend those. So yeah, you can use a charcoal, carbon sketch pencil, or anything you have. But I really love this technique because I go ahead and use this blending tool called a blending stomp. And that That's going to give me that color, which is in real life a deep indigo. And so yeah, if you want to learn a lot more about sharks, you can purchase my course. Some folks watching live today have purchased the course, and I only sell this course and really only talk about sharks once a year. I love sharks, but not everybody does. But I love to inspire people to understand sharks and appreciate them, because even though they seem scary and you think you have a lot to fear from them, they have a lot more to fear from us, because over 100 million sharks are killed each year by fishermen, both for sport fishing and for shark fin soup and for their meat, and also their livers. But also many, many, many are caught by accident and die in fishing nets. Okay, so that's a first layer. And I think I'm going to get a little bit more now. If we look here, there's going to be a shadow under the snout because it's all kind of wrinkled there. And I want to emphasize the eye a bit more, and shadow under there. And then I want to emphasize the gills. And then a little bit more, I want to get the cast shadow under here. And generally the middle of the shark is actually going to generally be the darkest, because that's where the fattest and roundest. So I'm trying to add a little bit more graphite there. And also some more on the far fin, because that's in the shadow of the body. And then with the tail, there is going to be this ledge that we're going to put a highlight above. And that ledge kind of goes into the tail. And there's also sort of a little shadow here. So now I'll blend again. Oh, I love working with charcoals because you can really blend a lot. It's a very forgiving medium. Actually, I think I want to have this fin be a little darker, because the body is facing, this part of the body is facing the sun a little bit more, although these guys are often in deeper water. So I just like to go a few times around the shark, adding more details, more shadowing. And there again, there is going to be a pretty obvious line here. So when we add the charcoal, this charcoal is not only telling us that this fish is colored on top, but it's also giving us some indication of the highlights and shadows. And so the bottom here is quite light, but it still has some ripply shadows here from the gills, and the open mouth makes a shadow here. And there's generally a shadow behind the gill and the first fin there. So it takes a few tries. Now, a lot of people would kind of stop here, but we're going to keep going because we want to get this really detailed. And the way we do that is start to add some highlights. So yeah, even though the belly is very white, there is still shadow from the body here. And it's going to be lightest kind of in the front where the sun is going to be shining more, because this is a smaller area than this, which is much fatter where the belly is, and the stomach and the liver and the reproductive system. And I like to really blend the edges so that we don't see that first pencil line. Because if you see a real shark, he doesn't have a pencil outline. And so one way to get it looking more realistic is trying to really blend in that line. And we'll clean things up at the end here in a few minutes so that our outside edge is cleaner. And this fin is angled downwards. So generally, it's going to be a little darker on the back half. And I don't know if you can see that, and I'll do a little close up later. So now, not really giving enough love to these gills here. Okay, so now I'm going to start to add the highlights and shadows. And so I like to take a pen. I got this black Uni Posca pen, and I want to add some personality to the eye. And then we want to emphasize the teeth. So I think I'm gonna use a pencil on that. I don't want to get them too scary looking. And you do see a little bit of shadow though, especially on the upper, because the sun is coming down here, so there'll be more sun reflecting from the upper, from the lower here than from the upper. So we got a little bit of shade there, maybe a little emphasis. Okay, there we go. And just adding some more highlights, more shadows. And that keel. There we go. And then adding some highlights. So I like to use these Uni Posca white pens. So I'm going to give a highlight to the eye. Oh yeah, that pen's almost dead. I got to buy a new one. This is another one. It's a larger diameter one. So it's a little hard to get super detailed, but I just touched it a little bit there. And I want to clean up a few areas here. Oops, I messed that up. Oops. That was dirty. This is dying, isn't it? You have another one. How's this one? That was a little better. So, yeah, I kind of messed this up. Oh, well, it's okay. Still go like that. No worries. No worries. Don't worry, be happy. Okay, so now how we doing here? Oh, we got a heart. Thank you so much for the heart. I want to add some little highlights to the front of the fins here, maybe, and kind of a little bit of like patterns here because that mouth is open. And then I think actually If these pens aren't working too well, I also like to use a white charcoal pencil, and that can help me with that highlight. I'm gonna have a highlight on the top of that keel, and that highlight goes up into the tail where actually the end of the backbone goes. And of course, these guys aren't bony fish, they're a cartilaginous skeleton, but it still goes up into there. Where else? Maybe some highlights here. And yeah, this keel kind of goes up here. It kind of follows a little bit where the lateral line would be. So sharks are super cool in having all of these really interesting special sensory systems. All righty. So now let's see. I wanna go in a little bit. I'll let you see what we're doing here. This is taped down, so I can't move it, but you can start to see some of these details I'm getting here, right? Okay, there. So let's just keep going a bit. I like to just keep looking. Maybe oh yeah, I forgot the nose. So yeah, they have a lot of interesting sensory systems to help them find their prey. So they have nostrils that can help them sense just small particles of blood in the water. They have these dots on their nose, and I'm just going to emphasize those a little bit. They're called the ampullae of Lorenzini, and they help them to sense electrical fields of their prey. And then, of course, they have very good eyes, and deeper water sharks have larger eyes. And I'm just going to put a little bit more of a shadow below here. And then what else? I think I want to blend. Like I said, a shark doesn't have a line. So I want to soften that first line I did. And it is kind of difficult when something is taped down like it is for a demonstration, because generally I would be moving my paper to make it more ergonomic. But I'm trying to get rid of that first line and blend it softly. And here as well. We don't want to see an outline. Okay. So I just keep going, I keep looking and modifying. And then, I can look at the real shark as well. In this case, this shark shows a few things really well. This one has a kind of a black part on its snout, and I read that that's found in younger sharks. And also you can see the keel really well. And in this picture, you can really see how the keel goes back a bit farther than I made it, and is highlighted a bit further back here. So it's really good to look at a few different photo references when you're drawing. So tell me in the chat box, are you following along? I'd love to know if you're following along. I think I'm going to make this a little bit more obvious here. The base of the fin. So this is where I'm adding some of my final touches. A little bit more shadows. And yeah, emphasizing things a little bit more. Softening edges. The back of this fin is not connected to the body, so I've got a pretty hard edge there to separate that. And this fin right here is going to be the closest thing to us. So I could make that a little sharper, kind of make it come towards us a little bit more. Little things like that really help. Oh, good. Lisa, you said you're following along, loving hearing all the information you have to share. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, again, if you've just joined us live, this is the short fin Mako shark. It's the fastest shark in the oceans. And, but again, not fast enough to outrun the fishermen, and it is considered endangered. And, that's one reason I love teaching people about species that are often maligned and people are afraid of because, they face a lot of threats. If you have any questions, go ahead and tell us. So, yeah, one of the reasons they're built for speed, compared to the opposite kind of fish like a basking shark or a whale shark, they are really built for speed. They're like a sports car, and sports cars obviously look different than an SUV, right? And so they're going to have different anatomy, and it's that streamlined look, especially when they're just swimming. They've got that very streamlined look. They're fairly trim, but not as skinny as the blue shark from yesterday. And they have that tail that's equal top and bottom, and that strong keel, and those things all really help them. So if you're enjoying this, please click the share button. Yesterday, I only had about 10 people watching. So it's super hard for videos to get found nowadays on the internet. And so I really appreciate if you can help me get these found so, we can inspire more people to conserve sharks. My philosophy is learning to draw while drawing to learn. And so we're learning about a species and learning to appreciate it through the steps of drawing it. Now, I like using these pencils that are actually a sharpener. They're like a pencil, they're in wood, but the end is not graphite. The end is a sharpener. And so towards the very end of my drawing process, I'll use that to clean up my little edges and make things more sharp. And then, yeah. And it's a little bit, yeah. So anyway, again, I've got a course on sketching sharks, and you can check it out for 14 days. And if you don't like it, you can have your money back, but it's only $25. And let's see, how are we doing here on our time? Good. Any questions so far? Any questions? I want to bring this in a bit closer, especially for your folks watching on a regular computer. I really, since this is a wide subject, it's kind of hard to show very well just on the phone. So if you get a chance to watch these on a computer, that's awesome. You're going to get a much better experience. So yeah, I just keep going. Any questions before we wrap up? So every day is going to be a different species, and they're going to get more challenging. So not necessarily the shape of the species, but the pose that I have, the photo that I have. So this one is more challenging than yesterday's blue shark. And the next ones will be harder, but really fun. So I hope you can join us. I'm going to get the edge a little bit more raggedy here. Like I said, they get into a lot of fights and injuries, so maybe I'll have it. Remember the first time I dove with hammerhead sharks, they were swimming below me in the Galapagos Islands, and I wasn't afraid of them. In fact, they're not an aggressive shark, but they look scary. And it's funny, the first thing I thought when I saw them swimming under me was one of them had a really big gash, probably from either a fishing line or getting in a fight with another shark. And all I could think of was, "Oh, poor little hammerhead shark." So it's funny that even something that can be really scary, you can have some empathy for. And again, they are much more endangered from us than we are from them. You know, the news loves to talk about uh, shark attacks in the summertime just because it's sells advertising. But also there are more people in the world than there ever have been. So statistically, it's just more likely that a shark's going to be around. But most sharks aren't aggressive and they'd rather just avoid you. But yeah. So how we doing? I see Jackie says you're still following along, but a little bit behind. Right. So again, there's a share button right below where you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. If you can click that, just share that to your page or share that in an email to a friend, especially kids. You know, kids love sharks, and I just finished up a whole week-long class teaching kids about sharks. We did a whole summer camp themed with sharks. And that's when we did these. This is one of the media we did was we did this fun. Everybody picked their own species of shark, and this is my great white shark that I painted on a rock, and so did the kids. And we experimented with this same technique, and it's amazing that even the 12-year-olds could do this technique. The 8-year-olds tried; they did a good job, but even the 12-year-olds, they made their drawing almost as realistic as this. And so you really can, if you just take some time. So yeah, I usually just go back and forth a little bit, blending and drawing and trying to get the shape correct. Because each species of shark has a little bit different shape. So yeah, this is the short fin mako. So their fins are short, especially these back ones. Most sharks have a second dorsal fin and an anal fin and a pair of pelvic fins that are more that are larger. Okay. And maybe I'll make just a little bit of patterns. I like to make it not too perfect. Again, sharks get into fights and you can see the patterns the best kind of in the middle. How we doing here? We still got some viewers. Wonderful. I'm going to wrap up in a few minutes here. I've got some other things to do today, but I want to try to emphasize a few things. And yeah, so I'm going to go back. There we go. That one that shows a bit better for our folks watching on their phones. But yeah, I suggest if you want to join me the rest of the week, 9 a.m., and if you can, watch from a regular computer, especially if you're trying to follow along. Great. Any questions? Just about going to wrap up. I'm pretty happy with that. It's pretty close. Uh, this one, my shark is really well fed. It's a little fatter than this one, I think, but that's okay. Yeah, shadow. So again, if we pretend that the sun's coming from this direction, we'll have a little bit more highlights, maybe. Like I might have more of a highlight here on the top of the snout. And just those little things really help. And you can make a highlight by erasing. You can make a highlight by adding white charcoal or make a highlight by using an opaque pen. Each of those highlights are going to give you a little bit different emphasis. I'm just having fun here. I can't stop myself. Can't stop myself. So in today's email, I told people that even if you don't like sharks, it's really good practice to draw things you don't like or that are maybe characteristically called ugly or weird looking, um, because that takes away some of your stress of perfectionism. Like if I was trying to teach you how to draw a cute little puppy dog or a human baby, you might be really intimidated because you consider those so pretty and you feel like you never could achieve that. But if you're drawing something ugly, then the pressure's off a little bit. Okay, great. And so, yeah, I think this is about as good as I'm going to get today. I think it's about as good as I'm going to get. Great. So Lisa says, I'm still watching and I just posted to our local beach community. I'm actually in Florida right now. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it really helps. I put a lot of time and energy into teaching and a lot of background research and time printing these high resolution photos. And in fact, you can support me also by purchasing my course. My mini course on sketching sharks includes the whole set of high resolution images I'm using this week so that you'll have them and you won't have to just copy what we have on here. So that's one of your bonuses. And again, my course is linked in an email. If you're on my email list, it's also linked at the top of the comments and also below the YouTube video, I think. So it's christinelder.com/shark on, what's it called? christinelder.com/shark online course. And it's just $25 and it includes some really detailed step-by-step demonstrations that go a lot more into detail, especially if you've never drawn before. I share my 6 steps to sketching success. And I have a pretty detailed demo on drawing the great white shark, because that's a really popular shark. But the mini course also includes demonstrations on the hammerhead shark, on the whale shark, and some other really cool species, as well as all of these live events. And so the course, you get downloadable handouts, sharing all the supplies I use, sharing the sketching images here, and also my 6 steps to sketching success and a downloadable handout on the anatomy of a shark. So it's a really fun course for not only kids, of course, but also educators. So if you know anybody who works in an aquarium or natural history museum that works with sharks, educators are often quite afraid to draw and to incorporate drawing into their teaching because they think they have to be experts. But it's just, I love teaching people that drawing is a really accessible skill with some practice, and that with you incorporate that into a lesson where you're learning about an animal, it just makes it a lot more fun, and the kids are going to learn, as well as adults are going to learn about the shark through that process of slowly looking at it. Just like you have done here while you're watching, you've learned about the identifying features of the Mako shark. And again, they've got a pretty pointed snout. They've got a nice streamlined body, but a little bit beefier than yesterday's blue shark. They have fairly short fins, especially the second dorsal and the pelvic and the anal. And they have this tail that has equal sizes in the top and the bottom. So I really love to teach people about conservation of animals, especially endangered ones like sharks, through the process of sketching. So really the sketching is the gateway drug, I call it, to becoming interested in conservation of wildlife. And it's such an active thing. So you're not just listening. And of course, kids can get pretty bored just sitting there listening. But if they're drawing and learning about the parts as they're drawing, then they just stay more engaged. And once you really understand something and have looked at it long enough to draw it, you're much more likely to want to preserve it. And so maybe if you grow up on the coast of Florida or Texas, like Lisa has mentioned, and you're a kid, maybe you'll be a lot less likely to become a sport fisherman or to kill sharks for fun. You'll really understand how endangered they are and how important they are in our ecosystem. Keep the food webs regulated. Just like on land, once we kill all the grizzly bears and the mountain lions, you've got a problem with too many deer and rodents, right? So thank you, Lisa, for saying, yes, you do a lot of prep. Yes, I do. And I've been teaching for over 10 years and taught hundreds of these online classes. And I love teaching folks live so that I can interact with you in the comments, if not real life. So thank you so much for joining me today for today's focus species, the short fin mako. Please share these, and we will do a different surprise species tomorrow that will be in a more challenging pose. Okay, so every day we're working up to animals, these sharks that are doing a lot crazier things with their body, and it's going to teach you a lot more about depicting a three-dimensional form and highlights and shadows. So I can't wait to have you guys join me tomorrow, either live or in the replays under the playlist on my YouTube channel called Sketching Sharks. Okay, have a wonderful day, and be sure to share this with your friends, and be sure to check out my online course. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.